Task 4 talks about adhering to the specific codes of conduct. Task 4 has 14 qualifying criteria. Let's look at Task 4, Qualifying Criteria 13. Follow the complaints procedures and processes that are in place for representatives. The phase ombud, the FSP, and its representative and the client, or also referred to as the complainant, are the main parties in a complaint process. Here we will be focusing on the procedures and processes that are in place and have to be followed when a client wants to lay or lodge a complaint against a representative of an FSP. We will take a look at different sources, sections of the Phase Act and Code of Conduct to understand this qualifying criteria. These are Section 16 of the Code of Conduct, which deals with the general definitions in terms of complaints. Section 19 of the Code of Conduct, which deals with specific obligations and responsibilities of the FSP relating to complaints. And Section 27 of the Phase Act, which deals with the receipt of complaints, prescriptions, jurisdiction, and investigation by the Phase Ombud. We will now look at each section in detail. Firstly, we will look at Section 16 of the Code of Conduct. Here we have a financial service provider, FSP for short. Here we have our clients. Here we have the Office of the Ombud for Financial Service Providers, commonly known as the Phase Ombud. The FSP must have in place an internal complaints resolution system and procedures in order to deal with complaints it receives from clients. Section 16 defines what internal complaint resolution system and procedures are in relation to an FSP and a client. This means the system and procedures established and maintained by the FSP must be in accordance with the Code of Conduct for the resolution of complaints from clients. Client makes a complaint against an FSP. A complaint, as defined by Section 1 of the Phase Act, relates to a financial service rendered by an FSP, key individual, or representative to the client, where the complainant alleges the FSP, key individual, or representative has contravened or failed to comply with the Phase Act, or has willfully or negligently rendered a financial service to a complainant, or has treated the complainant unfairly. And as a result, the complainant has suffered or will suffer financial prejudice or damages. It is important to remember this concept of financial prejudice or damages. Just a note that you will see in the complaints process, they refer to the complainant, which is basically the client. The FSP must request the client to put and lodge the complaint in writing. The FSP must handle complaints from clients in a timely and fair manner. The FSP is to take steps to investigate and respond promptly and in reasonable time to such complaint. The FSP must maintain a record of the complaint for a minimum period of 5 years. If the complaint is not resolved to the client's satisfaction, then the FSP is to advise the client on any further steps which may be available to the client, such as referring the complaint to the Phase Ombud. Section 16 of the Code of Conduct defines a resolution or internal resolution of a complaint to mean that the complaint is resolved by way of the internal complaint resolution system, processes, and procedures of the FSP. Next, we will look at Section 19 of the Code of Conduct. So here we have the FSP, the client, and the face ombud. Section 19 excludes the representatives of the FSP from these obligations and responsibilities. The FSP must have an internal complaints resolution system and procedures in place, which excludes the representatives. So basically, the system must not rely on the representatives in any way. The FSP's internal complaint resolution system and procedures must be in writing. An FSP must, as its duties and responsibilities, reduce to and put in writing the systems and procedures of its internal complaint resolution processes, and provide its clients access to these system procedures and processes that have been documented. Systems and procedures must make provisions that once a complaint is received, an acknowledgement and confirmation of receipt is provided to the client that the complaint is sent and allocated to a staff member appointed to resolve it. The complaint receives proper consideration. Management controls are in place to control and supervise the consideration process. The client must be informed and notified of the process in terms of Rule 6 as well as timing, should they want to take the matter further if the outcome is not favorable. The procedures must always be available and accessible to the clients at all times. The procedures should provide a summary of the procedures that the client can follow should their complaint be dismissed by the FSP, and how to lodge the complaint to the face ombud or other ombud. The name, address, and contact details of the particular ombud should also be included. The procedures should state that the client must put or lodge the complaint in writing where possible and include all relevant information and copies of documents to support the complaint. The procedures are to indicate that the FSP will notify the client of receipt of the complaint with contact details of the staff involved in the complaint resolution process. This process must be properly documented by staff to ensure the adherence and compliance to the Code of Conduct. Where any complaint is resolved in favor of the client, the FSP must make sure that all appropriate redress and compensation is offered to client without delay. Lastly, we will look at Section 27 of the FASE Act. Remember, we have our three parties as before, being the face ombud, the client, or also referred to as the complainant, and the FSP, or also referred to as the respondent, and or involved parties, which may be the key individual and or representative. The complainant lodges their complaint with the face ombud, as discussed previously in this video. The ombud must determine A. If the requirements of Section 26, subsection 1, paragraph A4 have been complied with. Basically, has the complaint been taken to the respondent first before being brought and lodged with the Ombud's office? B. If not, then act in terms of the rules before bringing it to the Ombud. That is, to send and notify the respondent and offer the respondent an opportunity to resolve the matter with the client first. C. Otherwise officially receive the complaint if it qualifies as a complaint. The official receipt of the complaint by the Ombud suspends the running of the prescribed period until the complaint has been withdrawn or dealt with. For those who don't know what a prescription period is, it's the maximum time period that someone can take action against another person and/or party. So once the Ombud receives a complaint, the prescribed period is suspended until they can deal with the issue or complaint. Here we deal with the jurisdiction of the Ombud. The Ombud must decline to investigate a complaint if it has been taken to court before or during the Ombud investigation. The Ombud must decline to investigate a complaint that is more than 3 years old. If a person was not aware of this time requirement, then it is effective from the date they knew about it. The Ombud may on reasonable grounds determine that the complaint be dealt with by the courts or other dispute resolution processes and decline to handle the complaint. The Ombud must not proceed to investigate the complaint received unless A. The Ombud has informed and notified all interested parties of the complaint. B. The Ombud has ensured that all parties have received enough information about the complaint in order to respond to the complaint. C. The Ombud has provided all parties with opportunity to submit responses. The Ombud may implement any procedures, including mediation, which is deemed appropriate and may allow parties right to legal representation. The Ombud must first try to explore any reasonable prospects of resolving the complaint by means of conciliation settlement to all parties. The Ombud may try to speed up the resolution of the complaint through conciliation settlement. Therefore, make recommendation to the parties. If they don't accept recommendation, then obtain reasons why. If they accept the recommendation, then the recommendations will be seen as a final determination of the Ombud. The Ombud can delegate the functions of the investigation and determination to someone in its office. The Ombud can also mandate a person or tribunal to perform these functions. We looked at the procedures and processes that are in place and have to be followed when a client wants to lay or lodge a complaint against a representative of an FSP. We will now take a look at some questions to test your knowledge. Question 1. The Ombud for financial service providers is the person appointed to resolve disputes between consumers and financial service providers relating to A. The experience of the advisor, B. The performance of the investment, C. The quality or nature of the advice given, D. The contract between the insurer and the client. Pause the video here and think about the answer. The answer is option C. The FACE Ombud is to resolve disputes relating to the quality or nature of the advice given. Question 2. How must a complaint that has been lodged with the FACE Ombud be completed? Choose the correct statement. A. Completing a complaint form. B. Writing a letter and with it send a copy of the FSP's final response. C. Sending correspondence from the FSP regarding the complaint. D. Completing a complaint form and sending correspondence from the FSP regarding the complaint. The answer is option D. When lodging a complaint to the Ombud, the complainant needs to complete the complaint form and send all correspondence from the FSP regarding the complaint. Question 3. Which of the following statements are true? 1. If a case cannot be settled through mediation or conciliation, the FACE Ombud or the Deputy FACE Ombud may issue a determination. 2. In terms of the FASE Act, the existing voluntary ombudsman established by the financial services and banking industry enjoy recognition. 3. The FASE Ombud can officially accept a complaint for investigation if the complaint relates to a financial service that has been rendered on or after the 30th of September 2004. 4. A determination has the same legal effect as a judgment of a court. Select option A, B, C, or D. The answer is option D. All the statements are true. You need to use questions as a learning tool and opportunity in preparation of your exam. Question 4. The FASE Ombud will consider a complaint which happened or occurred A. 6 months ago and the client has reported the complaint to the FSP. B. 6 weeks ago and the client has not reported to the FSP. C. 6 months ago and the client has not reported the complaint to the FSP. D. More than 3 years ago. The correct answer is option A. A complaint which happened 6 months ago and was reported to the FSP will be considered by the FASE Ombud. Question 5. When dealing with complaints, the Ombud must be independent and impartial. The objective of the Ombud is to consider and dispose of complaints. What is the manner in which the Ombud must deal with a complaint? Choose the correct statement. A. In a fair manner. B. In an economical and expeditious manner. C. In an informal manner. D. All of the above. Pause the video here and see if you can work out the correct answer. The answer is D. The Ombud must deal with the complaint in a fair, economical, expeditious, and informal manner. Question 6. Which of the following is not included as a requirement of a FSP with regard to the complaints resolution process? A. A policy for the internal resolution process should be included in the complaint resolution system. B. Maintain an internal complaint resolution system and procedures. C. The complaint resolution policy must be transparent and visible. D. Staff members have to be trained on the external resolution processes. Remember, we are looking for what is not a requirement. The answer is option D. Staff members have to be training on the external resolution process is not a requirement to be part of the complaints resolution process. Question 7. Tsakatso, a client, has lodged a complaint with the FSP and she feels that her complaint has not been resolved to her satisfaction. The provider has to A. Tell Tsakatso that nothing further can be done about it. B. Refer Tsakatso to another FSP. C. Inform Tsakatso of other alternatives in terms of the FASE Act and the law. D. Terminate the relationship with Tsakatso. Pause the video here if needed to think about your answer. The answer is option C. The FSP is to inform and notify Tsakatso of other alternatives in terms of the FASE Act and the law. As we know, this would be to inform and notify Tsakatso of the FASE Ombud and the process as well as time requirements of 6 months to submit her complaint. So let's go through a final overview of what has been covered. We went through the complaints process that a client would follow by lodging the complaint to the FSP's attention and lodging the complaint further to the FACE Ombud if not satisfied with the outcome of the FSP. We then looked at the required internal complaint resolution system and procedures established by the FSP when dealing with complaints. And then finally, we looked at the process followed by the FACE Ombud when receiving a complaint from a client, or also referred to as the complainant of the FSP. We hope you enjoyed the video and learned a lot. Please make sure to check out our other ORI videos.